Here we go. Let's do this.
We've got one life, one shot. Who do you want to be? What do you want to do? Addicted to Betterment, a podcast to inspire us to keep going, to try something new, to dream, to think big, bigger, to overcome. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
Hey, it's Nikki back on Addicted to Betterment with my husband here, David Gregory, and our coach, Roya Mattis. It's been a while, a little hiatus that we took. I think our content was so good that people had to repeat it and binge it for a while to get caught up. And now we're ready to dive into this next episode that we have planned for you all around your nervous system is running your bank account. And we're exploring how the nervous system shapes our relationship with money, why prosperity is more about regulation than hustle, and how creating internal safety allows us to receive more with greater ease. So when I first met Roya, I admired the track record that Roya has for working with people to level up in the financial arena of their life. And so much of that is about our, internal programming and what is in our mind and in our body that allows us to make the financial means that our goals, our dreams. And today's episode, I think, is getting right at the heart of that. So Roya, we're excited to have you. We always treat these like a coaching episode with you because you are a coach to David and I. And, most people, I think wealth is a mindset issue, and it is, right? But I think you are here to teach us that a lot of the issues around wealth are directly coming from body signals and our body. Talk a little bit more about why this topic is important and, that kind of mind-body connection with money.
Oh man, this topic is so foundational when we're talking, especially to an audience like you guys have. These are people that want to go out and make impact. You are willing to do what it takes. You want to make a difference and you want to have the two things that people want, it all, it and all. And in that, there's nothing you would not be willing to do in your morals and physical capacities to bring in the income for yourself and your family. However, your nervous system can disagree. And so when I've worked with people that have done everything, they have done all the mindset work, they have grinded out and worked 80, 90, 100 hours a week, and they're still not where they want to be, or they get there and then they lose it, and they get there and they lose it. These are travesties that don't have to happen when we understand what we're actually signaling into the universe that we're asking for. So when we talk about, it's really mainstream now to talk about manifestation, and they talk about the emotions with the manifestation. Well, it's like a boomerang. You can ask for something, but you have to feel for it back, right? And so we're talking about the nervous system and the body. The body is actually transmitting. So you know that it's transmitting because when you're in somebody's space, you can like to be in their space and you can be off put in other people's space. This is what they're signaling. This is not just their facial expressions, but it's also you can feel someone go, I just don't like their energy, if you've ever said that before. You also know that you're transmitting something because when you have anger, you can feel that rise in the body. When you have joy, you can feel that rise in the body. These have a transmission. And we'll talk about the scale of that now or later, if you'd like, for those of us that like some facts behind the woo. But they've actually been able to measure these transmissions. And what we found is that we're asking in code. The universe is made of math and patterns, and we're asking by our signaling for what we actually want. So that's our boomerang back. So if you've been begging and wishing and visualizing, and it's not coming back to you, it's because your body, your nervous system is telling the universe actually know I want this other thing instead. And it all comes down to safety. Is it safe inside of my identity, inside of my priorities, inside of my beliefs to have that level of money?
Roya, a quick question. That's so good. And I am actually treating this as a coaching session. I've got pen and paper and I'm ready to take notes. And I'm wondering, as you were talking about, asking in code, how much of someone's life history plays into those nervous system codes that we're transmitting, so to speak. If you've lived your life, broke and trying to just make it or trying to survive, and then you start experiencing some abundance that you've never, experienced before, and suddenly it's all new and exciting. And what happens? Or on the flip side, you're used to a level of abundance and you're used to certain things, and suddenly all of that crumbles, and you find yourself at a different on the opposite end of the scale. What happens to that nervous system in those situations, or does that play into it?
It totally plays into it. And it depends on the meaning you attach to what happens. So if you attached no meaning to it, if you did not have a visceral response and you're like, "Da, da, da," and you go on, it does nothing. If you have a meaning that's been attached, if it was too much, too soon, startling in any way, or a stark moment, it's going to play a part. And most of it is actually playing a part from before you even knew who you were, on or before the age of 7, because you're a sponge at that point. Because actually everything is exponentially compounded during that time because your dendrites in your brain are actually firing and wiring the synapses that you ride your life with during that season because you're learning the world around you. And so there's a lot of meanings attached. And the ego at that point is made to be everything is about me, for me, because of me. So everything has an exponential meaning. So if, for example, if I were going to ask a kindergartner, hey, can you draw a map from California to Nevada and tell me exactly how to get there with your crayons? And the kindergartner has no idea where California and Nevada is, right? And make a road map for me. And then I took that kindergarten Crayola map in the car to drive from California to Nevada. Would that make any sense? Right. I would never take their map and do that. But this is what we're actually doing with our lives. We are taking the maps that we made when we were 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, except about that age, and we're using that as our roadmap of life. And so to drive that analogy home of a client, a very successful business, $2.5 million a year business, but every every cap is a cap, every ceiling is a ceiling. And so for her, she was ready for the next level. She was stuck at this $2.5 million revenue ceiling. And so we did some work and we went digging into, well, where is this firing and wiring space that is keeping us from believing, keeping her from believing that she could have more? No matter how much she was doing, no matter how many strategies she changed, it just kept rounding out to about that much. Well, it turns out, David and Nikki, this was a simple, seemingly insignificant memory. So it doesn't have to be like some massive tragedy. She was about 3 years old, cooking noodles in the kitchen for her grandmother. And this pot spilled over. She's 3. And the noodles went all over the floor. And in that moment, the meaning that she attached is, I cannot handle or be trusted with big things. I'll mess it up. And so over time, this business that she created, it didn't seem so big, but the next level in her subconscious was a big thing. And she didn't trust herself for big things because when she was 3, she spilled noodles on the floor and her grandmother yelled at her. So rewiring that memory So we started this project was in November. We uncovered that project, that root cause about a few months in. We worked on it in a couple different angles. And by 9 months of working together, she was tracking an income of $4.4 million. Now, did that happen only because she had this revelation? It happened because the revelation opened up her fire and wiring signals that said, I'm capable. I'm worth it. I can do this. I can handle whatever comes. So then she became brave enough to go into new rooms, to learn new things, to make different connections, to make bigger offers that she was never going to make before because her nervous system would seize up.
Roya, talk about how stress plays into this. I think you had said something when we were prepping a while back about the wealth stress response, kind of like the fight or flight. You've got a couple of teachings around that. Talk about how that shows up.
Yeah. So when anything happens that enacts a stress response in you, and that amygdala, which is the back of the brain, also the reptilian brain, the one that has an autonomic response, this is our survival reactionary place in the brain that keeps our species alive, the fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. These reactionary signals say, stop. So, what does that look like when it comes to money? A flight is, I'm stressed, I'm running away, I'm not going to make that offer, I'm not going to dive into that meeting, I'm not going to create the next thing, I'm running from that big conversation. It's too much for me. The freeze, I go into the boardroom, I go into the meeting, I go into the offer, and I'm stumbling over my words because my stress signals are saying, stop. You got to get out of here. Be quiet. Saber-toothed tiger's going to eat you. Not a cognitive thought. Just this is what's happening. Fight now. Okay, so we have freeze. We have flight. Okay, so now fight. All right, I'm getting in the ring. I'm going to just go for this. But people want to support. They want to, let's say, buy from you. They want to have options, but they want to have choice. And they don't want to be sold to. They want to buy, but they don't want to be sold to. So when we go in there like it's our life depending on it, we're fighting for it and we're begged, but we come from that anxious space of I gotta win, I gotta win, I gotta win. People can feel it and it's repelling. We've all known that feeling before. Like, gosh, what is happening inside of me? I hear this person really needs it, but I'm so turned off, I can't even do it. It's an animal instinct that we just are repelled by that energy. And then there's fawn, there's the please. I go in, I'm ready to make this offer, and somebody says a little something. And my nervous system is like, uh-oh, alert, alert. I'm stressed out here. This stress is making me think that there's danger here. And so now I'm going to lower the offer. Now I'm going to say, don't worry, you don't even have to get that. I'm going to take it off the table. I'm going to do something so much to please the other person. Fawn, make the enemy their friend, pleaser, to self-survive. And so now we've sabotaged in all of these signalings under stress what we actually want the most.
Talk about the sabotage. I feel like that's a big thing. Like when we're on the edge of opportunities, like we tend to sabotage right before the thing expands, before the opportunity. Like talk a little bit more about why we do that and what that's about.
We do that because our subconscious identity isn't in alignment with that next thing that we're doing. We all have subconscious identities. We have it for the body we're in. We have it for the relationships we experience. We have it for everything, including the money that we have or we don't have. Now, you can hack the system for a short amount of time, meaning you can get there, but a real signal that you haven't met that identity yet is losing it, having it and losing it, and going on that roller coaster. And this is the signal that you're sending that I actually unconsciously or consciously feel like this is too much for me. So there's really 5 main subconscious barriers to having that money stay and grow more. And one is the scarcity mindset. So, hey, this is really too hard to get. It can easily get lost. Money is limited. That scarcity one. That scarcity one I found comes up in patterns a lot with people that grew up in families that had and lost money, that parents had that. They saw it, they subconsciously bought into it. It's also from people from the Depression era. So if they're around grandparents or parents that grew up in that era, there's a lot of micro habits that are showing that things are scarce. And so these agreements go into our behavioral patterns that there's just not enough. So what can happen to these people is they can never get it. Because also, if their identity is, okay, if it's really hard to get, and I have scarcity mindset, and I have a core value identity of being present with my family, I'm going to be a present father. Well, the present father can't also do all this stuff to get a lot of money. That's outside of his identity. So he just won't. Or he or she hoards it. So if you're also a hoarder, maybe you're like, I've got money in the bank. But how is your nervous system? Are you always feeling like you don't have enough yet to feel free with it? You refuse to invest in yourself. You believe that your financial gain must mean someone else's loss. You think it's going to go at any moment. That's scarcity. The second one is a deep unworthiness. So if you don't inherently deserve in your being, not what other people tell you, but to yourself, that you deserve wealth with ease and high income, you feel only justified in earning if you're working 100 hours, you're sacrificing everything. And then if it comes too easy, you can start to question that it was real or right. And so you can sabotage because you didn't do enough to earn that. So if you had parents that told you you had to earn everything, that you never just got something because you exist, that can create a deep level of unworthiness. If you had people that told you, hey, you don't deserve this, and then you're tiny, let's say even you were a little one and something, remember, it doesn't matter what happens, it's the meaning. It can be as simple as I'm a 4-year-old child and my mom said I could have 2 cookies if I did X, Y, and Z. And mom gets a phone call when it's time for my cookies, and therefore mom is distracted. And mom goes to the cookie jar, and there's only 1 cookie inside, but I'm too short. I don't see that there's 2 cookies. Mom hands me 1 cookie and walks away. The meaning that I could attach is no matter how much I did, I'm not worth 2 cookies. And what people promise me is not real. I could say I'm unworthy. Simple cookies. The third is fear of success and visibility. Now, this visibility piece seems to happen a lot with females over males. It is a thread through line, even in our DNA. I work in epigenetics, and epigenetics is the study of the coding of DNA, signals turning on and off. For many, many centuries, it was unsafe for a female to use her voice, to be seen. If she said something that was controversial, she could literally be burned at the stake or stoned and all kinds of things. It even wasn't until this newest generation is having babies now that is not affected by a mother who couldn't get credit and buy her own house. So The belief that achieving wealth will make you a target for criticism or envy or isolation. In being alone is like death itself. That's why in prison, they put you in solitary confinement as one of the highest punishments. So if you believe that it's going to impact you from being with family, with being with friends, from now being judged, you can go silent when things feel big. So you back off from launching big projects, sharing work publicly that's going to make more wealth for you, stepping into leadership roles. So they stay safe and hidden. The fourth is money corrupts. Money is the root of all evil. That saying in the house, even micro judgments, if your family might have gone by and go, oh, look at them. They think they're so amazing with all that money. Wow, of course he's behaving like that. He's so spoiled with all that money. And so as a child, maybe your core value is you don't want to be spoiled because then you're not going to be approved of by the parent you love the most. And therefore, in your psychology, I'm going to lose love. So I'm not going to be one of those spoiled people. I'm not going to be somebody that's greedy or dishonest or superficial. So the impact is because I value being a good moral person that needs love, I might be even repelled. I might even use words like I'm good. I like my simple lifestyle. I had one of my brothers for a long time. He would talk about how much he preferred to be poor. Literally, he was like, it's simple this way. I like it. I'm not into all that stuff. And it was a unconscious sabotage. And even if you grow up in the same family, you can have very different firing wiring signals from your siblings. So you actually can't just look at the siblings and get your impacts because even if you were born 2 years different, if you think of your own life from year to year, one year can be a high, one year can be a low, one year your health is good, another year you've had a severe loss of a family member and you're sad. And your children are at different stages to receive or see what's going on. And they don't have worldview to filter it through anybody else than themselves. So they're getting different memories or they're interpreting the memories differently depending on the stage of life that they're in. And nobody is saved from this. Everybody has different barriers and ceilings. It might not be in money, it might be in something else. All right, the fifth and final one is financial boundary failure. What I mean by that is this is the belief that asking for money or charging what you're worth is greedy, rude, or dangerous to relationships. So maybe you grew up in a very generous family and they were just like, we don't charge our friends. We don't, they get everything for free, or, maybe you're very good at cooking. And so you went and you cooked every week for a different relative because they couldn't cook for themselves. So this is very generous. And maybe you grew up and you created a catering business. And now your wiring is, I can't ask for that. This is something I'm inherently good at. And this is something that I'm to really give away. This happens a lot for people in coaching and spiritual work. That's a thread of belief systems that they actually kind of keep each other down in the spiritual world and say, if you charge for that, you're not really holy. But the truth is that if you don't charge, you're buying into a systematic process that has occurred that keeps these spiritual activated voices small, because when you don't have money, you can't go get self work as much. You can't go travel with your voice as much. You can't advertise as much. So it is actually that's a whole other thing. But this belief that the impact is you consistently undercharge, you work for free, you fail to follow up on your invoices, and you tolerate low paying clients and low paying jobs because you were fired. So, what might have happened when you were younger is these kinds of micro moments that turn into macro beliefs that turn into your roadmap of life.
And how many people live their whole life without like assessing, like understanding themselves, right? And just this is why they're stuck is because they haven't figured out, whether it is the, fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, or, hey, I just feel like I'm indebted by my faith to give things away or whatever. Um, I mean, that's the work that you do to really uncover and understand, help them understand so they break that pattern, right?
Yeah, I think we're in such a generous time right now. This feels like since 2020, it's starting to occur, but since, you know, the pandemic, people have started to self-reflect and seek answers more. So that's a beautiful thing. Shout out to the first level of therapy, of talk therapy, which has been around for some decades, has been a very great discharge for people. It lets you feel better, and it's a very important layer. The challenge with only talking about things is if you imagine that these types of challenges are like a glacier. So if the top of the glacier, you can see some of the ice and rock formation, but then there's this huge amount under the surface. Well, talk therapy is what you can see, what you know, see, and feel. This is about 10% we have found. What you know is in talk. What is important to rewire and change behavioral autonomic responses is in the what you don't know. Now, people can say, but I changed so much with therapy. I agree. And what often happens when people singularly go to talk therapy is now you create new rules and new boundaries for the nervous system to stay safe. I will not talk to these kinds of people. When I hear this, that's a red flag, and I will course correct over here. And what you've effectively done to your nervous system is you've actually encased it even more. What once keeps you safe feels really nice at first. Imagine like a suit of armor in the medieval days starts to get heavy and weighted down over time. And this is where we're seeing autoimmune diseases, early heart conditions, cancers, and so forth. It will turn into a dysfunctional way of responding. And this is where you see really emboldened people like, I know my worth and I know my boundaries when it's coming from that kind of vibration, the vibration of rage or the vibration of grief. You haven't healed it, you've only put some kind of walls around it, and then it starts to wear you down.
You really connected with me on something you said a little bit ago, and I want to touch on that for just a second. I feel like it's something that I'm seeing a lot in the friends and business owners I talk to every day. You talked about that self sabotage when someone has overcome whatever those things are, the five, and experience that level of success, and then get hit with a major setback. And now that, I felt it when you said, you know, "Oh, is it real?" I was talking to someone today who has done the work and experienced a lot of great, growth in life and seen abundance and got hit with a setback. And their first thing was, "Man, I just always mess things up," or, "Oh, man," and it was come from this place of I literally felt exactly what you said, and I was like, "Man, I feel like that's all of us." My hat reflects this journey of growth. It's up, and then you have a down, and then it's up again, and I feel like myself and others like me who do the work to get to a place and you're like, "Oh man, I'm experiencing this abundance or this relationship or this growth in this area," whatever it might be. We're talking finances specifically here. Then you get a setback and you're like, "Oh, does this even work? Do I deserve it? Am I unworthy? Am I good enough? Am I, and you start, it's now all that self sabotage is very different because you've overcome it once. And I feel like it's could you help people who are in that stage? It's like, I've I've done the work. I have overcome those things. And you're like, "Is it even work? Is it real? Am I worth it? Am I good enough?" Help me understand that.
Oof. It's tough. Oh my gosh. I feel it viscerally too because I had a similar thing happen and it happened to me, August of 2020 and everything I knew was burnt to ash. Here is the good thing about everything being burnt to ash. Ash is actually fertile soil. And if we kind of zoom out and we look at the big picture of life, we are lifing in focused areas. But what are these areas actually doing for us as a human becoming on earth? It is actually triggering our invitation for the next level of self. And even though we might have thought we reached that level of self, we get to have higher challenges to revisit the same at a different level or something masked a little differently, inviting us to now do the next level of work. Now, we can, in free will, say, not going to do it. Or we can pull it up and get curious. So, the first step out of that is curiosity, childlike curiosity with no filters. Like, I thought I was this, I thought it was that. But what else could be true here? And get some outside perspective that's looking at it through a different lens. We also can create new stories and meanings as adults too. So I created a new story and meaning for myself when I went through this in 2020. And it took me a little bit of time to dig out of it. But just know that it doesn't matter what has happened. It doesn't make you a worse or better being. It is simply your journey of a human becoming the next best layer. And so the great news is when that happens is it's giving you a roadmap. It's pointing to the potential, the invitation of the curiosity of where else was I invited to grow. Now, for some men can get really good at muscling through things. Women can too. Men just have more longevity of lifespan to do it. What I've noticed for women is we can do it from tiny to about age 40. And about age 40, 45, we're like, I am so done. Our bodies are done, our brains are done. Not that we are not highly productive, but we start to go into this space of curiosity, of reclamation. It's our growth trajectory for females. They usually hit it in their early 40s. Men usually hit it in their early 50s. Same thing as you notice in the emotional and the brain maturity in the male body, just difference at different ages and stages. The women kind of hit it earlier. Same thing in the arc of going to this season portion. So what happens to men is they've muscled, they've muscled, they've muscled. They've mindset, they disciplined, they routined it. And then there comes a point where you've done all those things. And if your soul has asked for you to have like superhuman next level, you're going to have a crash. So I see it as a compliment when you have that because you have this really strong vibration in your soul that said, I'm going to take on this challenge. It might be a generational challenge. It might be something you've been going through in your own soul's journey for a while. And here you are. And so maybe the invitation for our male listeners is not that you're incapable of creating it again, but the invitation is, can you do it differently? Can you see that it's time to become a full king? The male, if you look at Alison Armstrong's Journey to Becoming a King, or The Queen's Code is a book she has, she talks about the journey to become a real king. He's got to hit the darkest tunnel of his life where everything feels broken. And then he has to decide, is he going to go through the tunnel or is he going to perish in it? Now, there's men you will see that will turn to alcohol, they'll turn to drugs, they'll let their body go bad. they start self-sabotaging, or they turn into this monster being that nobody's going to get in their way and F everybody. Okay? Coping mechanisms not coming out of the tunnel. A king decides, all right, I see there's a holistic vantage point to becoming a king. A king actually gets financial wealth, he gets physically wealthy, he gets relationally wealthy. So, what he's able to do is navigate the wealth with the loves of his life, making space for that and protecting them with his presence, not just his money. So when I see a potential king fall, it's probably an invitation that there is an opening for the full scope. What has he let go on his journey? And it's time for him to find these other aspects and incorporate them as he builds his wealth again.
That's good. I feel like that level of self-sabotage, the second level of you've done the work, you've gotten through the thing and you got punched in the face, or you've fallen flat on your face. And those things, when you said them, like I felt them in my soul, because I know people, again, conversations I had today of people that I adore and love very dearly and have done the work and have gotten punched in the face, and hearing that, those thoughts in their head of, man, you know, yeah, it's, I mean, there's so many people going through that in our world right now, who are feeling that at different levels.
Just
That's
remind
good.
them they're giants. They signed up for it. And so it's a beautiful invitation because not everyone is going to get to that level of consciousness. So when you were asking before, Nikki, like, there's some people aren't here to do that work. So they might go, but that dude over there, that dude has been making money forever and he's a complete a-hole. That woman over there, it's like she, you know, takes a crap and money comes out. You know what I mean? Like and then on the internet, she just explodes. Well, that's her journey. That's her journey. And they might not have come here. They might have signed up to experience lavish life. They didn't come here to experience some other things that, in my opinion, is the real work. That's the real gold, the gold inside of you. And so when we can lean into those invitations, there's a lot of pot of gold on the other side. And it doesn't have to mean you're sacrificing the money with it. It can mean that you have more along with it.
So good. And there's so much more that I wish we could cover in this episode. But I think the one thing that we want to make sure that we cover, and then we're going to have to save a lot of this for our next time together with Roya. But Roya, I think that the Hawkins emotional scale about understanding like our relationship with abundance is important to tie into all this. And I think you had some things to share. Do you want to go there before we wrap
Let's
up?
get a little bit scientific proof for some of us in this audience. And I know it helps my brain too. For those that are watching on the screen, on a video, I just put it on the screen, but I'm going to describe it for the listening audience and you can look it up. The first to be, or the one I know of the most that began the study of what actual vibrational hertz emotions signal out was a man named David Hawkins. And David Hawkins began to study what actual hertz do these emotions put out. And what he found is that shame and guilt only signal 20 and 30 hertz. Now, let's think about the conditioning societally. I grew up with a lot of guilt parenting, not shaming my parents. It's just the way that they probably grew up too. And there's a lot of that societally, and we do it to each other. You should feel guilty for that. Do you feel bad for that? These little things that we grew up with that we pass on, what we're inadvertently doing is we're depositing guilt and shame, fire and wire inside the nervous system. Now, if you are looking at this next to it, that's in effect creating suffering. Now, maybe you have all the money in the world, but you feel guilty about it. You are silently suffering. Or you might feel ashamed because you're in this belief system that it's bad people. You must be seen as bad. And so you have shame. And so you're silently suffering. And you're sending out these signals. And so let's go up. So now a lot of society's conditioned from early on. If I used to think if I don't feel guilty about something, I'm a bad person. I don't feel remorseful. I didn't realize that I was holding on to this getting by, the suffering state, the fear, and the contracted. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of woo with this, a message that I received that made me understand more by seeing the science. So let's go up, and then I'll share with you what happened. Let's go up on the scale to love. Love, to give contrast, the Hertz, the registered scale is 500. Shame and guilt, 20 and 30. Love, 500. If we think about the universe and universal love and unconditional love and whatever you might believe in, something outside of yourself that is the vibration of love, the vibration of love signals 500. I was in a meditative state. This was back in 2015. And a voice came to me very clearly and said, I did not make my children feel guilty. When you feel guilt, you block me out. I cannot do my work when you feel guilt. What does that mean? When you look at the scale, if this consciousness is saying to me, I call God, I cannot do my work when you feel guilt. Think about how many people beg in prayer to be answered. Now, prayer has some great signals to it. But also, if they're, please, God, I feel so bad. I'm in shame. Please bring this to me. I'm scared that it's not going to happen. Fear is 100 on the Hertz. And love, vibration of delivery, of manifestation is trying to reach you. But in the laws of the universe, like energy can only meet like energy. They have shown that under microscopic lenses, right? Under scientific studies. And so if these vibrations can't meet, so let's just call God a vibration. That vibration of love cannot come down so far down to meet you. This is why you're always desperately cycling in the same emotional trap. So Hawkins gives us a map. And this is the first step I help the clients get to. My clients go to acceptance first. Acceptance leaps you to 350 Hertz. This is how you can get to where you can be met with your wishes and your desires. Now, acceptance doesn't look like, fine, I accept it. Acceptance looks like I'm going to actually get to a place where I see the gift in it. And that could take some work to get to. How can I actually be grateful that this happened and accept that it happened because of something larger, a larger purpose? And so when I get into that place really in my heart that I accept what happened, now I can be met. So for your money, if you are feeling so guilty that you are bankrupt, that you are in debt, that you have so much you're buried under, and you are a 65-year-old person and you're thinking, this is my freaking legacy, then what I want to offer you is going to someone that can help you find your root cause. And this simple thing might help you as well. If you think of money as energy, and energy is in the laws of the universe and in the law of this earth, we cycle. We cycle in our seasons, fall, winter, spring, summer. Our blood circulates. So we have this circulation, right? Our blood circulates. We have magnets. Magnets, polarities circulate. We see that we're given the map that this planetary realm is in circulation. And so money is in circulation also. So what if you think about your debt as a donation, that it circulated out for others that needed it so badly at that time? And now you're in pure acceptance that you made that donation, and you proclaim that it's time for you to be in acceptance that you inadvertently, involuntarily donated that money. But I see that it got me to this point, these questions, this version of myself to even come to potentially asking what else can be true here. And so, isn't that a gift? And so now I'm so grateful to 10x it back to me. And so, when I get to that space that I have donated, and maybe I can imagine all the hungry people that needed that $300,000, that $500,000, that $4 million of debt I just put out there. And now I'm going to 10x it back because I now feel the love of what I did with that money, what might have happened with that I put out, and I'm ready to receive it back. It's just a hack to your emotional landscape. And it matters because it signals Hertz vibration that come back to you, whether you like it or not. It's a universal law.
So good. Well, David, this has been another amazing episode with Roya. I wish we had time to kind of debrief on all of the notes that both of us are taking on everything, but we're gonna have to have you back, Roya. So we'll be back soon. And today was another, great deposit into our community of Addicted to Betterment and so many of those emotions that we just saw on that scale that go with money, right? And it's a core thing that all of us have our seasons with. And I love the teachings that you've had today, and we'll look forward to having you back. Thank you for being with us.
So, you just listened to this episode. Now, join us in being addicted to betterment. Please subscribe to the show, share with your friends, tag us, and please take a moment, leave a review. Yeah, we do want your stars, but we really want the feedback.